Are you out of your mind? Efioma snapped, jerking her arm away. Do I look like your mate? Who gave you permission to touch me? An elderly woman, frail and bent, stood trembling in an oversized blouse and a faded wrapper. Her hands quivered, and her voice shook as she pleaded, "Forgive me, my daughter. I didn't mean any harm. Please, even 100 naira. I haven't eaten since morning." But Efioma's face twisted in disgust. "You people are shameless," she barked. "Always begging, always bothering decent people." The market grew still. Traders halted mid-sentence, customers stopped walking, even children with oranges in their hands froze. The tension in the air was thick, but Efioma pressed on. "You're poor because you're lazy," she shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Do you think I work this hard just to feed people like you? Do you think everyone is on your level?" Before anyone could intervene, she lifted her leg and kicked the old woman. The woman tumbled backward, hitting the dusty ground. Her headscarf slid off, revealing hair streaked with gray. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from pain, but from the humiliation. The crowd gasped. A boy cried out, "Auntie, she's old enough to be your mother." Another woman shouted, "Is this how you treat elders?" But Efioma was unmoved. She leaned forward, her voice dripping with arrogance. "My name is Efioma Adolai. I work at Bright Code Africa. Do you even know what that is? Of course not. Your children will never step foot there, they'll wander the streets like you. I earn more in 1 week than you'll see in a year. Now get out of my way." She hissed and spun around, strutting off toward the pepper stall, her sneakers kicking up dust as though nothing had happened. A young man rushed to the fallen woman, lifting her gently. "Mama, are you all right?" he asked softly. He brushed the sand from her back and wrapped his arm around her. "Come, sit over here." Others hurried over, offering water, asking if she needed help. But the woman only shook her head, whispering, "Thank you, my child," as they guided her to a quiet corner. Meanwhile, Efioma continued shopping for chicken and tomatoes, smiling proudly to herself. She had no idea that just a few feet away, someone had recorded the entire incident, every word, every insult, every cruel gesture. She didn't know that by the next morning her world would be unrecognizable. And she certainly didn't know the truth that would shatter her pride. The woman she had kicked, Mama Ibuka, was the mother of Ibuka Odogu, billionaire CEO and founder of Bright Code Africa, the very company where Efioma worked and bragged about with such arrogance. By Monday, her pride would collapse like sand. But before that market scene, before her name filled blogs and WhatsApp groups, Efioma Adolai was just another girl from Amuk, a quiet town in Delta State. She grew up in a small 2-bedroom house with a zinc roof, living with her mother and 2 younger brothers. Her father had died in a motorbike accident when she was only 11. From that day on, Efioma made herself a promise: "I will never be poor again." She despised the pitying glances people gave her mother. She hated wearing hand-me-down skirts to school. She hated being sent home because they couldn't pay fees. At night, while her mother wept quietly in their dark room, young Efioma would whisper to herself, "One day, I'll be rich. One day, they'll respect me." After secondary school, she couldn't afford university right away. She stayed home for a year, teaching neighborhood children for 500 naira per lesson, using the little she earned to support her family. Still, she refused to give up. Every day, she spent hours at the town's cyber cafe, paying 100 naira to learn coding, HTML, CSS, Python, absorbing knowledge like food. While others wasted time on TikTok, she devoured tech tutorials. Soon, she began building small websites for shops and churches. Her talent didn't go unnoticed. By the time she gained admission into the University of Benin to study computer science, she already had clients. Her roommates teased her. "Look at this one," they laughed. Always glued to her laptop like she's in Silicon Valley. But Efioma ignored them. She just kept building. By her final year, she had won 2 tech competitions and landed a remote job with a Lego startup. After NYSC, she moved to Lagos, rented her own apartment, and began living the life she once dreamed of. She earned in dollars, wore stylish clothes, posted glamorous photos online, and rode around like royalty. Messages poured in from her village. Please help us with school fees, we hear you're doing well. God bless you. She began to feel untouchable. Even in church, her walk carried pride. She crowned herself Tech Queen online. Her followers grew, her posts flaunted achievements. Dear poverty, you lost the battle. No one can shame the child of grace. But pride crept in silently. She stopped answering her mother's calls. She blocked anyone who asked for help. I suffered alone, she told herself. Let everyone carry their own cross. At Bright Coat Africa, her colleagues noticed her arrogance. She never greeted the security guards. Once, she told a cleaner not to breathe near her desk. Nobody challenged her, because she was brilliant, delivering results consistently. And in the tech world, results often spoke louder than respect. So she continued unchecked. Until that Friday at Edu Market. The same girl who once fetched water barefoot now wore white sneakers to insult someone's mother. The same girl who once begged for 100 naira now kicked an old woman asking for the same amount. But fate was already waiting. Because the woman she kicked, Mama Ibuka, was no ordinary beggar. She was the mother of Ibuka Odogu, owner of the very company where Ifeoma worked. His portrait hung in the office reception. The same man who often told his HR team, talent is good, but character is everything. That night, while sipping Zobo and laughing at Instagram skits, Ifeoma's phone buzzed. She opened it. A video. The market scene. The insults. The kick. Her arrogant words. The cup slipped from her hand. The video had gone viral. Her name was already trending. Tech Queen of Shame. Bright Coat Disgrace. She kicked someone's mother. Her Instagram overflowed with insults. WhatsApp buzzed with screenshots. Twitter caught fire. Still, she whispered to herself, they'll forget by tomorrow. But the next morning, her phone rang. HR. The ringtone pierced the air. Ifeoma sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the screen, HR Bright Coat Africa. Her chest tightened. She forced herself to answer. Good morning, she croaked. The voice on the other end was cold. Good morning, Miss Adalai. Report to the office by 9 a.m. sharp for an emergency disciplinary meeting. Click. Her hand shook as she lowered the phone. She stared at the ceiling. A heavy fear crawled into her throat. She dragged herself to the mirror. Puffy eyes. She hadn't slept, her video had spread everywhere all night. On Facebook, someone wrote, "This is the problem with these new money children. No home training." On Twitter, always treat people kindly. You never know who is watching. Influencers discussed it. Pastors used it for sermons. Her name became a symbol of shame. Still, she told herself, it's just online noise. Once I explain, they'll understand. She dressed quickly in a plain gray blouse and black trousers. No makeup, no perfume. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like a queen. She felt like a thief about to face judgment. When she arrived at the office, the receptionist didn't smile. The security guard didn't greet her. Everyone seemed to know. At the boardroom door, she paused before stepping in. Inside sat HR, her team lead, and, at the far end, the man she had only ever seen in portraits. Ibuka Odogu. 42. Tall, confident, dark-skinned, round face framed with a full beard, sharp eyes behind reading glasses, dressed in a plain white kaftan and golden wristwatch. The CEO himself. Efioma froze. She hadn't even known he was in the country. "Sit down," he said, his calm voice heavy with authority. She obeyed, clutching her bag as her hands trembled. HR spoke first. "Miss Adalai, we have reviewed the viral video. You were clearly seen insulting and assaulting an elderly woman in public. Kindly explain what happened." Efioma swallowed hard. Her throat was dry. I didn't know someone was recording. She touched me." Her team lead cut her off. "You are not being judged for being recorded. We are here because of how you treated a human being." Efioma turned toward Mr. Ibuka. He hadn't spoken yet. He simply studied her with weary, unblinking eyes. Then, finally, he spoke. "Do you know who that woman is?" Efioma shook her head. "She is my mother." Silence. The air seemed to vanish from the room. Efioma blinked in confusion. "Sir." "I said," he repeated firmly, "the woman you kicked in the market is my mother." Her mouth opened, but no words formed. "She occasionally goes out disguised as a poor woman," he explained. "She likes to see how people treat others. It keeps her connected to where we came from." He rose from his seat and walked around the table. "I came from nothing too," he said, his tone low but sharp. "But I never let success turn me into a monster." Tears burst from Efioma's eyes. "Sir, I didn't know, please, I didn't know she was your mother." "You don't need to know someone's background before treating them with dignity," he snapped, his voice echoing. "Even if she had been a beggar, is this how you treat people?" Sobbing now, Efioma dropped to her knees on the boardroom floor. "I'm sorry, sir. Please, I was just stressed. I lost control." Ibuka looked down at her briefly, then turned to HR. "Terminate her contract." "Sir, please," she wailed. He shook his head. "You represent this company everywhere you go. Yes, your skills are impressive, but your character is dangerous. Here, we don't just build code, we build people." With that, he walked out without looking back. Just like that, the job she had fought so hard for was gone. By the time she left the building, the receptionist was already drafting her exit letter. The office cleaner, the same one she once told not to breathe near her desk, watched her with red eyes as she carried her belongings in a plastic bag. Her boat ride home was painfully silent. When she entered her apartment, the stillness was suffocating. The curtains hung limp. The fridge hummed dully. She sat on the tiled floor, staring at her phone. Hundreds of messages. Some mocked her. Some defended her. Some simply enjoyed the spectacle. But one message pierced through. It was from her mother. "I saw the video. Come home." The house in Indowa village hadn't changed. The red zinc roof still bent at the corner. The narrow footpath to the front door was still lined with broken cement blocks. But Efioma had changed. When the bus dropped her at the junction, she stood still, dust clinging to her skirt, her eyes scanning the village road she hadn't walked in years. Gone were the heels, the acrylic nails, the wigs, and the pride. She wore simple clothes, flat slippers, a faded blouse, and her natural hair uncovered. At the doorway stood Mama Grace, her mother. Early 60s, soft round face, warm brown skin, gray scarf tied neatly over her cornrows, wrapped in a faded Ankara cloth with a plain white blouse. She didn't speak. She just opened her arms. Efioma collapsed into them, weeping. That night, she couldn't eat. Her mother set down rice and pepper soup before her, but her hands shook too much to lift the spoon. Mama Grace sat beside her. "You see, Ioma," she said gently. "We raised you with respect, but sometimes life teaches what home could not." "I disgraced you, Mama," she whispered. "I disgraced myself." "No," Mama Grace replied softly. "You just lost your way. Thank God you're still alive, that means you can still return. That night, as crickets sang outside and the ceiling fan groaned above, Efioma lay restless. Her mind replayed the past. When her father died, leaving them with nothing. When Mama sold bread on the roadside to keep her in school. When her shoes tore and she patched them with needle and thread. When she got a scholarship to study coding online using borrowed phones. When she knelt in church begging God for a breakthrough. And how he answered. She got a job. She bought a car. She moved to Lagos. And she forgot. 3 days later, on a quiet afternoon, Mama Grace was in the backyard pounding yam when a visitor entered the gate. It was Mama Ibuka. Late 60s, dark skin smooth but weary, short and strong with tired eyes. She wore a simple brown wrapper, rubber slippers, and a neat scarf over her white hair. The moment Efioma saw her, she froze. Should she run? Should she kneel? Instead, her body dropped instantly, she fell to her knees, trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "Ma, please. I'm sorry." Mama Ibuka walked slowly toward her, hands folded behind her back. "Stand up." Efioma obeyed, eyes still fixed on the ground. "You know," the woman said softly, "when I first saw you in the market, I thought you were just another proud Lagos girl. But when I looked into your eyes, I saw something else, pain hiding behind the pride." Tears rolled down Efioma's cheeks. "I didn't know who you were. I was angry at life, but I took it out on you." "You were angry at your own wounds," Mama Ibuka replied gently. "That is what many people do, they bleed on those who never cut them." Mama Grace stepped forward and invited her inside. They sat in the living room on plastic chairs. Mama Ibuka accepted a malt drink, sipping slowly. Then she reached into her handbag and pulled out an envelope. She placed it carefully on the table. "This isn't punishment," she said. "It's purpose." Inside was a letter. An invitation. Not to another job, but to speak at a leadership conference for young girls. To share her story, not just the rise, but the fall. "You must use your voice," Mama Ibuka said, "to teach others what pride can destroy. Because the same voice that insults can also heal, if it learns new words." The conference was held in Enugu. Efioma stood on stage before more than 500 teenagers. She wore a simple green gown, no makeup. She told them everything, how she insulted an old woman, how she lost her job, how she forgot who she was. She didn't present herself as a hero. She told the truth. For the first time in years, she felt light. Afterward, many girls rushed to hug her. Some wept openly. One whispered, "I almost slapped my mother last week, but your story changed me." Back in Nia village, on a quiet Sunday evening, Efioma sat beneath the mango tree, writing in her journal. Sometimes God lets you fall so you can hear the ground speak. The lesson isn't in the disgrace, but in the decision to rise again. She closed the journal. For the first time in a long time, a real smile rose from deep within her. It had been 3 months since the Enugu conference. She was no longer trending online, but her name still left a bitter taste for some. She had tried applying to tech companies, none responded. She reached out to old friends, most ignored her. Even some churches didn't want her to address their youth. "We don't want controversy," one pastor said gently that it hurt. But she didn't fight. Instead, she started teaching local children how to use computers. The village secondary school had one old, sluggish laptop. But every afternoon, she gathered kids under the mango tree behind the school. Her first students were 3 girls and a boy. By the second week, 10 more had joined. She wasn't paid. She didn't care. She was healing. One Monday morning, after her usual devotion with Mama Grace, someone knocked on the wooden gate. When she opened it, her heart skipped. Standing tall in a spotless white kaftan, holding a leather bag, shoes slightly dusted from the village road, was Ebuka Odogu himself. The tech billionaire CEO of Bright Coat Africa. He removed his dark glasses slowly, his calm eyes fixed on her. "Good morning, Miss Adelaide." Her throat tightened. "Sir. I hope I'm not disturbing." She stepped aside quickly. "No, sir. Please, come in." Mama Grace, hearing the voice, stepped out of the kitchen with flour on her hands. Her eyes widened. "Ah. This face is too familiar." "Mama," Efioma whispered, "he's the CEO. The one I disgraced myself before." Mama gasped. "Jesus is Lord." But Ebuka only smiled politely and bowed slightly. "I'm just a man, Ma. Thank you for welcoming me." They sat in the small parlor. After tea and light conversation, Ebuka turned to Efioma. "You've changed," he said simply. Efioma nodded. "Life forced me to." "I saw the video of your speech," he continued. "And I've read about the work you're doing in the village. What impressed me isn't only your honesty, it's your courage. Not everyone rises after such a fall." Efioma lowered her head. "There's a new project we're launching," he said. "A program to train 10,000 rural girls in technology across Nigeria. We're calling it Rise Again Africa. We need someone who understands both the pain and the process." He slid a contract across the table. "We want you to lead it." For a moment, everything stood still. Her fingers trembled as she touched the paper. This wasn't just work. It was redemption. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You're wrong," Ebuka said firmly. "Now, more than ever, you deserve it. Because now you'll never forget where you came from." Mama Grace whispered "Amen" softly, wiping her eyes with the edge of her wrapper. By the next month, Efioma was in Abuja. But this time, she wasn't arriving as the arrogant girl who had once mocked a stranger. She was stepping in as someone broken, reshaped, and humbled. She didn't hide her past. In every town they visited, she told the story, not to gain pity, but to give warning. The Rise Again Africa project exploded across the country. Videos of young girls learning coding beneath mango trees and in small community halls filled social media. Her name returned to the internet, but this time, with praise. One headline read, "From Shame to Purpose, The Fall and Rise of Ioma Grace." She smiled faintly at the article, then closed the tab and went back to work. On her birthday, a letter arrived, handwritten. It was from Mama Ebuka. "My daughter. Many people fall, but not many rise again with purpose in their hands. You didn't just change your own story, you changed mine too. Keep walking with humility. Keep building with grace. We are proud of you. Love, Mama Chinir." Efioma read the letter 3 times, pressing it to her chest as tears streamed down her cheeks. This time, they weren't tears of pain, but of joy. She realized something profound: sometimes the very person you push down may be the one who lifts you back up. And sometimes, the worst day of your life can become the seed of your greatest purpose. Efioma learned that lesson, not in a classroom, but in life. And now, she was using that lesson to light the path for others.